United States of America, where law-abiding immigrant families are being violently targeted and American communities are being brutalized. Dramatic changes are needed at the Department of Homeland Security in terms of ICE and CBP. Absent that, Republicans have decided to shut down parts of the federal government once again. Questions?
Mr. Leader, the DHS is a massive agency. It's going to impact millions of people. Shouldn't Congress be working right now to solve that problem?
I'm here, ready, willing, and able to have a conversation with anyone, anytime, any place. That's always been the Democratic posture. Mike Johnson has once again sent House Republicans home. This is the same approach, failed approach, that Speaker Johnson and Republicans took during the 43-day Trump Republican shutdown in the fall. Strange to me that they would decide to take a similar approach. It didn't work out for them. It didn't work for the American people. And during that 43-day government shutdown, we made one consistent demand: extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. And at the end of it, when it was all said and done, one thing happened in the House of Representatives. We passed a 3-year extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits. The failed strategy of Republicans, it didn't work out then, it's not going to work out now. And we've drawn a hard line in the sand on behalf of the American people, and we're not going to allow the Congress to cross it. ICE needs to be dramatically reformed. Period. Full stop.
Mr. Leader.
Thanks. It's our expectation that we will respond to the unserious offer that Republicans have made that clearly omits things that need to happen, including but not limited to our demand that the Fourth Amendment be respected, that judicial warrants be required before ICE agents can violently storm private property or the homes of the American people. That's completely and totally unacceptable. And yet Republicans refuse to adopt that position. It's completely and totally unacceptable that Republicans don't want to see an independent investigation of ICE agents who broke the law. Our view is that state and local authorities should have the ability to investigate criminally and prosecute criminally any agent who breaks the law and engages in violence against the American people or law-abiding immigrant families. This is America. No one is above the law. And we do not trust the Department of Justice. Y'all saw the embarrassing display by the so-called Attorney General the other day here on Capitol Hill. Who would trust her, or who would trust the weaponized Department of Justice to actually independently investigate wrongdoing by Trump administration officials or by ICE agents? That's a reasonable demand. It's also a hard line in the sand. We also believe that the money that has been used to hire untrained agents who are masked, hiding their identities, brutalizing the American people is an unacceptable use of taxpayer dollars. And we need to actually make sure that the money that's being spent by the Trump administration is being used to actually improve the quality of life of the American people. And so there are a variety of different areas that clearly the administration has fallen short of doing things that make things better for the American people. Until that happens, fortunately, it appears that Donald Trump and the Republicans have decided to shut down other parts of the Department of Homeland Security.
Mr. Leader, so
Yes.
then just to be clear, can you just walk us through next steps? So are Democrats going to present another offer to the White House? Are you expecting another counter offer back? Or at this point, do you want a direct meeting with the president to try to close the deal?
We haven't called for a direct meeting at this point, but again, we're ready to sit down with anyone, anytime, any place, if they are serious about the types of dramatic reforms that are necessary to get ICE under control. The American people know ICE is out of control. They need to be reined in. They're brutalizing everyday Americans and law-abiding immigrant families. They're not targeting violent felons who are here illegally. The president made that promise. He lied to the American people. So it's my expectation that at some point, Democrats in the House and the Senate jointly will respond to the latest unserious offer formally, and then it will once again be in the hands of Donald Trump and Republicans to decide what's next.
Thank you, Leader Jeffries. There are going to be workers at TSA, FEMA, Coast Guard who are looking at this and saying, I got nothing to do with ICE, but I'm not getting paid right now. What do you want them to know right now?
Well, it's our view. We're going to continue to stand up for TSA officers and agents. We're going to stand up for FEMA. We're going to stand up for the Coast Guard. I think Rosa DeLauro has introduced legislation to ensure that other parts of the DHS agencies that have nothing to do with ICE or CBP are funded. Republicans have rejected that. They've decided they want to inflict pain on the American people. We know this is the case because that's the approach that Republicans took in the fall. It didn't work out for them, and now they want to repeat the same failed playbook. In the fall, they were trying to inflict pain, literally steal food from the mouths of hungry children by failing to pay SNAP benefits. That was the Republican strategy. It was the Republican strategy to try to constrain flights all across America. Again, in the fall, they were doing this because they didn't want to make health care affordable for tens of millions of people. This is extraordinary stuff. And now they don't want to get ICE under control. They don't want to make sure that taxpayer dollars aren't being abused to violently brutalize American citizens and in some cases kill them. So we're going to continue to hold the line on behalf of the American people. And it's on Republicans. If the Coast Guard shuts down, if FEMA is shut down, and if TSA is shut down. Thanks.
If DHS is shut down on February 24th, do you think that Trump should postpone his State of the Union?
That's an open question. We'll have more to say about that next week.
When it comes to the line of communication between you and the White House, 2 weeks ago, part of your argument for why you didn't support what came up from the Senate was that Trump never engaged with you. Has that line of communication, even if not with Trump directly, improved this time?
Well, there's communication staff to staff between the White House and House Democrats, and we've reiterated again to both House Republicans and to the Trump administration, no one speaks for House Democrats but House Democrats. And if we're going to arrive at an agreement here, obviously it's important for everyone to be at the table. That's 5 corners. That's the White House, that's the House Democrats, that's the Senate Democrats, that's House and Senate Republicans. If we're going to do the types of things that are necessary to get ICE under control.
Could you just go back to what you said at the top about the judicial warrants? That seems to be just a real hard line on both sides. And I just want to back up and say it did sound like there was a little bit of movement yesterday from Leader Thune on masks, where he suggested the idea of, some with the doxing issue. It seemed like perhaps he had said, there might be a landing place, so maybe marrying some. I don't know exactly, but can you just go back to the issue of the warrants, and is there any kind of landing place to use?
Seems to me, based on the silence of House and Senate Republicans today, literally hours away from a partial government shutdown, that the extremists here in Congress know that they have a weak hand. Their position is very weak, and they can't defend the type of violent, out of control brutality that the American people have seen being inflicted on them by ICE, taxpayer dollars being used to brutalize them. So our view related to masks and a whole host of other things that we laid out comprehensively in our 10-point list of demands. These are the type of things that need to happen in order to rein ICE and CBP in. and we'll respond to the latest that was sent over by the White House. Again, it falls short. And by the way, the notion that Tom Homan or any of these other folks can just say things and expect that all is good as a result of it, no, we're not down with any of that. Every single change needs to be ironclad and part of the law.
And can you say, will your counter-proposal, Democrats' counter-proposal, go back today?
House and Senate Democrats are working feverishly together, both at the leadership level and at the appropriations level.
Mr. Leader,
Thanks.
you mentioned funding for the Coast Guard and TSA, but what do you say to those Americans who question the point of the shutdown if ICE was given 7 times their budget in the president's reconciliation bill and is going to continue operations?
The one big ugly bill is going to be an incredibly important part of the discussion that we're going to have with the American people over the next few days, next few weeks, or beyond, depending on what Republicans decide to do. The notion, and we want the American people to understand this, that your taxpayer dollars in the one big ugly bill were used to provide massive tax breaks for Republican billionaire donors and to give DHS a $191 billion slush fund, which includes $75 billion to ICE, being used to brutalize you. Republicans did that in their one big ugly bill. And they also enacted the largest cut to Medicaid at the same time in American history, ripped health care away from 14 million Americans in that very same bill, the one big ugly bill. And by the way, they also enacted the largest cut to SNAP in American history, $186 billion in that one big ugly bill. And so we're going to put that toxic legislation at the center of this discussion. And you're absolutely correct. Part of the reason we're in this situation right now is because of what Republicans did on a partisan basis in creating a slush fund used to violently brutalize the American people, unleashing untrained, masked ICE agents in American communities all across the country. Unacceptable, unconscionable, and un-American. Now, the reason why we have to have this confrontation on behalf of the American people is because in a spending bill, we have the ability to legislate dramatic change. That's what we're doing. And the reason why we're confronting the possibility of a shutdown in a few hours is because Republicans are unwilling to enact change that is dramatic. We believe any changes should be bold, should be meaningful, should be dramatic, should be transformational, should get ICE completely and totally under control.
If this extends into a week from now when the House and the Senate are back, do you think that Representative Delorme's bill has a chance of making it to the floor to fund these other agencies, departments under DHS, except for perhaps ICE?
It's definitively my view, I believe it's the view of the House Democratic Caucus, that the Trump administration and Republicans should not hold the TSA hostage, should not hold FEMA hostage, and should not hold the Coast Guard hostage. And so Mike Johnson should call the Congress back again. I mean, are we going to be on a similar trajectory where literally during the 43-day Trump Republican shutdown, House Republicans were on a 7-week taxpayer-funded vacation? I'm here. Where are they? Again, we're ready, we're willing, we're able to sit down to solve this problem, but it's got to be decisive, it's got to be dramatic, it's got to be bold and transformational and meaningful. And the ball is in the Republican court right now. Thank you, everyone.
Good job.